Well, Toronto police are set to speak today about the presence of officers at demonstrations in the city. The update comes after the organizers of a weekend pro-Palestinian demonstration accused police of using excessive force. This is a live shot of the podium. That press conference expected to get underway any moment now. Videos posted to social media showed officers pushing protesters back. Police have said necessary force was employed after some demonstrators became aggressive. 3 people wound up being charged, and as we've been telling you, a news conference is set to begin any moment now. We'll bring that to you live as soon as it begins. Meantime, we are hearing from several city councillors who have signed a letter reaffirming their commitment to upholding the rights and freedoms of all Torontonians, including freedom of assembly. The 6 councillors say they've heard from hundreds of residents about fears of engaging in protests. Councillors Amber Morley, Gord Perks, Alejandra Bravo, Asma Malik, Paula Fletcher, and Lily Chang write, "It is deeply concerning to hear residents voicing fears about their freedom to engage in protests, demonstrations, and large gatherings, and our city must be a place where all people are free to demonstrate and engage in protest as a form of democratic expression." In other news, police are searching for a man after a jewelry store was robbed in Scarborough last month. The suspect has been identified as 19-year-old Haroon Ahmed Hussein. He is described as 5'6" with a thin build. Police say the incident happened on March 8th, just before 1 p.m. near Shepherd Avenue and Nielsen Road. According to the investigation, a group of 4 male suspects allegedly broke into the store, removed the quantity of jewelry, and then fled the area. Yesterday, police arrested 2 suspects in the investigation. 22-year-old Daniel Oaf and 21-year-old Abdullahi Ali are facing several charges, including robbery with offensive weapon. We're going to take you back to police headquarters now, where Lauren Pogue is giving an update about the presence of officers at demonstrations in the city related to the war.
Continues to operate 7 days a week, and our officers are attending demonstrations every day, some involving thousands of people. The cost of policing these events has now surpassed $12 million, highlighting the substantial commitment we are making to ensure public safety. With the expectation that these demonstrations will continue, including this weekend, I want to reiterate our role and expectations in managing them. Toronto Police attend these gatherings to maintain public order, facilitate crowd control, and above all, to ensure the safety of everyone present, be they demonstrators, officers, or the general public. Policing such events in a free and democratic society presents unique challenges. We respect the right to assembly and to expression, but it's crucial to understand that these rights are not limitless. These are laws and regulations that must be adhered to, and it's the responsibility of Toronto Police to enforce them. Our officers are well versed in their authorities during demonstrations, and when they take action, it is unacceptable to obstruct them or become aggressive towards them. We have engaged in ongoing discussions with protest organizers for many months. We have been clear on what lawful demonstrations include and do not include. Despite our repeated warnings and cautions, some protesters on Saturday refused to cooperate or follow police directives. This culminated in physical aggression towards our officers, a serious departure from the principles of lawful demonstration. 2 individuals were arrested for assaulting police officers with weapons on Saturday. Additionally, 1 more arrest was made this week for spitting on an officer, and another person is being sought for striking a police horse. These actions are anything but peaceful. They jeopardize the safety of everyone involved, including those who got caught in the fray and had no intentions of engaging in altercations with police. I want to acknowledge that not everyone participating in these demonstrations are law-breaking or aggressive towards police. That is not the case. However, there are individuals consistently involved in the protests who act as agitators and who are becoming increasingly confrontational and violent. It's important to recognize the potential consequences of obstructing police and interfering with our ability to maintain order. The choice to do so not only escalates tensions and may lead to confrontations, but it poses risk to the safety of all involved. The conflict in the Middle East has inflicted deep trauma on many in the city. With loved ones directly affected, feelings of helplessness and frustration intensify as the conflict persists. This is understandable, but it's imperative that Torontonians stand together. Turning against each other or resorting to violence towards fellow citizens and police is not the answer. Large protests are once again expected this coming weekend. We are asking demonstrators to work with us to ensure peaceful and orderly demonstrations and to recognize the city's patience throughout months of disruptions. While we remain dedicated to maintaining order with a measured response, we will not hesitate to enforce the law and make arrests where warranted. The Toronto Police Service will continue to uphold the right to demonstrate lawfully while limiting disruptions to the city and ensuring that everyone feels a sense of safety. I will now take questions.
Deputy Chief Lauren Pogue, and you were aware of the criticism that was leveled against police last week by some of these protesters, saying that effectively you are over-policing and taking steps that aren't necessary. Wanted to find out how you respond to that criticism, and specifically the deployment of the mounted unit. Is that necessary? Was that necessary? Is that going to be what we're going to see in the days ahead?
Thank you for that question. We have not changed the way that we've responded in the last, since October 7th. And that includes many different resources, police resources on the ground, and our police horses. Police horses are very effective. They effectively replace 10 officers, and they work very well in managing crowd control. And certainly, we've deployed them on a number of occasions. With respect to last weekend, again, we haven't changed our posture at all, but we did respond to what we were facing, a very hostile crowd who actually assaulted our officers, threw manure, assaulted a police horse, and those members of the public were arrested.
Are you saying you've seen a change in how the crowd is acting, or is that a one-off?
Well, we have seen, and as I mentioned earlier in my comments, that we have seen some people showing up on a regular basis who, in fact, are agitators. And we recognize that the vast majority of people showing up are there for a cause and to speak out and to be heard. But again, we have agitators in the crowd, and we have seen an escalation.
Sorry, how many agitators? Is it a large group? I mean, we know that thousands sometimes turn out. Can you just give us an idea of how many people are causing issues?
I can't speak to a specific number, but we are seeing the same people showing up who are acting out in that way.
Are you still in contact with the organizers for every one of these events, or has there been any sort of breakdown?
Well, at every event, we always attempt to liaise with the people who were protesting. And I can't comment specifically about this past weekend or coming, but we always make effort to liaise, to set our expectations and for everybody to understand, what is allowed. We want to uphold everybody's rights, but that's not limitless. You can't disrupt the city. And people are trying to go about their business. They're trying to attend medical appointments. We have visitors in the city. So, you still have to operate within the law.
Is that cooperation continuing between the organizers and police? I know that, like you said, you've been working together. Are organizers still communicating with police the way they once were, or has that relationship changed?
Well, we continue to make those efforts on every occasion. I can't speak specifically, but that is something that we are always trying to accomplish. We can't force people to speak to us, and it's really at their whim.
What was the tipping point in enforcing the Highway Traffic Act this past Saturday? You mentioned that there's been months of conversations, warnings to demonstrators that the riding on the back of the truck would not be allowed. So what changed on Saturday that would enforce that when they've been doing this for months?
Well, we in policing, we always exercise discretion, and we want to give people an opportunity to adhere to the law. And on many occasions, we've asked people not to be riding in a truck, which is very dangerous. We've had equipment that wasn't secured, and they've complied. And this time, on last Saturday, they were cautioned and in fact didn't comply. And again, we are going to enforce the law when we need to.
What were the circumstances in the arrest and unconditional release of the 3 people on Saturday? Why were they arrested initially? Why were they released unconditionally?
I believe there were press releases done on those individuals, and I'm not going to speak more about that today. I don't have specific information about why some were released.
Deputy Pogue, said that the cost to policing protests had exceeded 10 million. So we spent 2 million just in the last couple of weeks. How does the service plan to move forward to make sure it's being fiscally responsible, assuming that these will continue on a weekly basis?
We're just, we're actually deploying as many resources as we can on duty, but that comes at a cost to other work that we are trying to do as well. But again, we still have to maintain our core service delivery in the city and respond to calls for service. So where we can reallocate resources, we're certainly doing that. And where we need more, we need to rely on overtime to do that.
What is the cost to other parts of the service? Can you clarify a little bit on that? 6 months out of 3.
Well, sometimes we're taking officers away from their work for a day or two to certainly help respond to this. So, there's always going to be an impact on other work in the service, but what we want to ensure is our core service delivery and being where we need to be when the public calls us is not impacted.
Deputy Chief, is that $12 million cost? Are you talking about $12 million in overtime?
No, that is, it's approximately, I believe, $4.6 million in overtime. So the $12 million includes the actual salaries of officers dedicated on duty as well to Project Resolute.
Following what you do with the route, are you getting advance notice about the routes that these protesters are going to take? And if not, do you expect to be getting that information so that, as you said, people go to medical appointments, plan their day, and not be inconvenienced in the way that they
Again, over 500 demonstrations we've attended. Sometimes we do know that, and sometimes we don't. And this is why, at times, we have to, put a hard line in place of where people cannot go, because we have to limit disruption to the city. We have to allow people to go about their daily business. We have to ensure that critical infrastructure isn't impacted. So, in answer to your question, sometimes we do know that, and other times, there may be a gathering that starts to go mobile in March, and then we have to respond accordingly.
You're saying that the tactics haven't changed since October 7th. This announcement today, then, should that be perceived as a warning to protesters that if they are going to change, there will be a clampdown?
Well, I think, we certainly are responding to what we're hearing in the media, and I'm here to tell protesters. First of all, I'm here to ask everybody to cooperate. We want to ensure that people have the right to free speech and that their charter rights are protected. But I'm also here to tell people that if they're going to break the law, if they're going to assault our police officers or assault our police horses, there will be consequences and people will be arrested.
And one more question.
There was a press conference on Monday where there were some allegations of excessive use of force, police brutality. So obviously there's a broken trust between police and some of those protesters that showed up on Monday. What was police doing to build trust with the demonstrators who may feel as if the police aren't here to protect them?
Well, I'm here to tell you that, that we are here, in fact, in policing in an unbiased way to protect everybody's rights. And all we can ask is for people to be respectful of one another within the group that is gathering, and also to our police officers, and again, to the people in the community who are trying to go about their business. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
That concludes today's conference. Thank you for attending.
We have been listening live to Toronto's Deputy Police Chief provide an update about the presence of officers at demonstrations in this city, talking about the challenges police face when attending protests related to the Israel-Hamas war. Lauren Pogue says they respect the right to assembly, but says those rights are not limitless. She's, of course, talking about Saturday's pro-Palestinian demonstration, which led to some very tense moments. Police allege some protesters refused to cooperate and say this culminated in physical aggression toward their officers. We know 2 people were arrested for assaulting officers. She goes on to say another person is being sought for striking a police horse. Organizers of Saturday's pro-Palestinian demonstration have accused the police service of brutality and aggression. Videos posted to social media showed officers pushing protesters back. That's something police denies, saying that they have used necessary force.